Hey, welcome in everyone to DomTime, that night of the week where we call in some of our best local pundits and talk about a whole array of things. Ken Dainik with us tonight, from founder and publisher of Jersey Man magazine, and Matt Rooney, founder of SaveJersey.com. Syria in the news, guys, that it's reached a level now. I noticed on my radio show today, in the past it was only the inside baseball types that might call in. Now, with all the moving parts and the stuff, the president popping up on Saturday, I was watching the U.S. Open tennis and coming out and saying he's going to go to Congress. Now it's all over the place. Everybody on every bar stool even has an opinion. No bar stool, but what does Ken Dainik think?
Well, it's a weighty issue, and I could talk for probably a couple hours on this. But the short version of what I want to say is that, if indeed the United States is the guardian of humanity and a guiding light, then I think we have a responsibility to make sure that these atrocities, no matter where they are, don't happen. I don't really particularly care what the public opinion is around the world, if other countries like it or they don't. I think it's up to us to make sure that we do the right thing, and we can't stand idly by in a region that is incredibly important to our national interests. So why we have to wait a certain amount of time, especially when Obama says even if Congress doesn't want to do anything, he's going to do it anyway. So I think this is all a charade.
And Matt, how about you?
I agree we need to be the guiding light in the world. I think we usually are. However, I don't think we remain the guiding light in the world by replacing one pack of murderers with another. As John McCain found out infamously a few months ago, a lot of the rebels in Syria that are opposing Assad also happen to be in bed with al-Qaeda.
Well, John McCain today assured us these are moderate Muslims, etc. He's been there, he knows that. And I am more in your camp. Ken, what about that, though? There's nobody to be on anybody's side here. And what we're doing is pretty ineffectual. We lob a few in, we do that. Assad then is a big man. But we're not going to try to kill him. But we're not going to try for regime change.
What is the price of doing nothing, however? I mean, what message does that send to any third world country that they can do these atrocities against their own people, against other people, and get away with it? Plus, the President of the United States drew a line in the sand. He said
which was a big mistake.
What he was going to do if they did it, and now he really needs to back it up. Certainly politically, he needs to back it up.
And Matt, let's talk about the politics of this, because it's not only principle, which is the main thing, but there's a lot of politics here. You have two wings of the Republican Party fighting it out, which I think the president likes. One is the Rand Paul, a bit more isolationist. The other is the John McCain wing, and they are going to duke it out. I mean, McCain's already called him a wacko bird. And people like that. And I think that's the new face of the Republican Party. Where's Christie on this?
Where's Christie on
it? If
this?
Anywhere.
He actually spoke about it today. He said that he opposed the use of chemical weapons, which is a pretty obvious statement,
well,
right?
Okay,
I think we can get some consensus around that, but he didn't weigh in. He deferred to the New Jersey congressional delegation, which is also split. Scott Garrett up in North Jersey, very well-known conservative congressman, said he's leaning against it. Virtually everyone else is undecided. I think it's unfortunate. I think, like a lot of things in the Republican Party right now, the answer lies somewhere in the middle, going back to a more realist, situational approach that Ronald Reagan and some of our presidents in American history past used. But right now we're breaking down along this libertarian and hawk dynamic, and I think that's what's making us look like dodo birds. Not our actual positions, but the fact that we can't seem to really coalesce around one plan or another.
Glad Ken is here tonight. I defer to you on all sports matters, but this is beyond sports. To me, this is one of the greatest achievements ever. Nyad, a woman that I followed back, it's got to be 30 years ago, Ken, attempting to swim from Havana to the Keys, 110 miles. She was in the water 53 hours without a break, which is remarkable, battling sharks, jellyfish, which bite you, and she swelled up the last time, and just swimming 110 miles.
Right. It's amazing. I mean, it's one of the most incredibly inspirational things I've ever seen in or out of sports. You know, I'm a guy who has been a risk taker in my life, and 2.5 years ago I started a magazine in the teeth of a bad economy, and people said I was crazy, but you know, I had the belief that I could do it, and we are incrementally making it as a success with Jersey Man. But you know, and I'm also a believer that you always need to have goals and a reason to wake up in the morning and be involved in a worthwhile purpose. And she's been a great inspiration to me and to everyone else that, you know, hey, listen, 64, although it's getting up there. It's not ancient. There's still things you could do.
It's a new 40.
And she proved it.
Exactly right. And now she's going to, Matt, The beauty of this is she's going to do fundraising for Sandy and a bunch of other things. And instead of swimming with the sharks, et cetera, I think it's really the toxic waters of the Hudson and Jersey rivers is going to be in a portable pool that somehow or another she swims, but she'll be out there in the middle of it.
If she swims in the Hudson, she might grow gills.
Yeah, that'd be
so
pretty
I would
tough.
recommend against it.
But it is the single biggest accomplishment. It was on the front pages, but I can't even imagine at 64 the ability, the athletic ability, the endurance to be able to do this.
Yeah, and the training it takes at that age to be able to do something like that.
The monotony. Now, I ran the Boston Marathon, and the hardest thing for me was not the physical part of it after a while. It was the monotony, the mental monotony. If I had something to think about or deal with, I'm able to do it. Otherwise, 26 miles, 385 yards. This was 110 miles swimming.
Yeah, it's really something to be admired. And you're right. I think the mind takes over in situations like that, and that's where mental toughness comes in. And she certainly showed plenty of it.
Let's talk about a Jersey case where two appellate court judges, in my view, did not show a lot of toughness. And Matt, I'll ask you about this. I don't know if you've written about it. It involved a situation where a guy was texting while driving. We all know responsibility there. Horrific accident with people on a motorcycle, takes off their legs. The judges said they were open to this attorney that I had on, the person texting, not just the person receiving the text. If you knew they were driving and you knew their history and they might open it, also had responsibility.
Right, I think it was a 3-judge panel in New Jersey, and even though they ultimately didn't adjudge that individual liable, they said,
they opened the door to this.
Right, there's the potential that you could be, this isn't their phraseology, but this is what the one attorney used, you can be electronically present in the vehicle.
Exactly.
I'm sure that you and I could sit here and come up with a situation where that might be valid, but one of the most important fundamental principles in the law is notice. And I can't think of one time I've ever texted somebody and said, hey, I'm driving, by the way, and began a conversation. So if I text you, Dom, and I say, hey, Dom, I'm on my way, and you engage me in a convo, does that mean that you now have noticed that I'm driving? I'll be really interested to see how the courts negotiate that. I think it's a really tough line to draw.
It is. It's Ken, any comment on that? It gets away from individual responsibility here.
I think it's ridiculous. I mean, how would I know what you're doing and when you're doing it? I mean, I can't see.
And even if you knew I were driving, you know that with certitude I'm going to open it. Isn't that on the person that did it?
Well, I think it's, it is on the person that did it. It's your responsibility not to respond to the text or text at a later time. I mean,
all right, more coming up with Ken and Matt here as we continue DomTime.